Let's meet at the library. Okay.
Hi everyone, it's Julia and welcome to my channel Shakespeare and Such. Today, or should I say tonight, I have my February wrap-up and filming this like 3 days before February is over, so theoretically I could finish another book before the month ends, but I'm pretty sure I won't. So I'm just gonna go for it and assume that I didn't, even though I am reading The Princess Bride and it's so excellent and I am so proud of myself. I read 8 books in February, which is as many books as I read in January, even though it's a shorter month, and 6 of those were on my TBR that I planned to read, and that's amazing. And then of the 3 that remain on my TBR, 1 I'm halfway through, and 1 is just an audiobook that I've barely started, so I definitely won't finish that. But come on, it's go me. I'm proud of myself. As I have been doing, I will go through these from my least favorite to my favorite, but there were no books that I hated this month. There were books that were okay and books that were great. So let's do it. First up, with an exact score of 3 out of 5 stars, I have Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. This was very cute, very sweet. It's just not my cup of tea, basically. It's a very summery, contemporary romance, and that's just not the genre I usually go for. This is very much a cover buy, and I'll admit that, because it's so pretty. This book is about a teenage girl named Emmy who just finished high school, and she is working as a set decorator for the film industry, basically. So she goes to lots of estate sales, and then she finds this old letter in a record that she bought, and the letter was written by a very prolific actor who had passed away, who's basically the fictional Clint Eastwood. He's known for all these cowboy movies, and yeah, she and her best friend Charlotte tried to figure out who the people were in this letter who he mentioned, because he's got heirs who are supposed to be getting money, and they're holy crap, we should find them and let them know. And then of course romance ensues, and this is female romance, by the way, so if that's your cup of tea, that's in here too. And it was a really sweet, really cute romance, and I loved that it didn't spend a lot of time with anyone being conflicted, oh, do I like a girl? They were both, from meeting each other, very well aware that they're interested in girls, and they both have had past relationships with girls. So it was just nice for them to be am I interested in this girl specifically? I think I am. So very cute. 3 stars. Just a solid, cute, okay book. Next, I have The Saturday Evening Girls Club by Jane Healy. This I gave 3.2 stars. Ooh, big difference. This was just a really short, sweet historical fiction. Again, this is, I got 3.2 because it's essentially as sweet and simple as Everything Leads to You, or Everything Leads to You, but it's historical fiction, so I ended up liking it a little bit more. And this is about, it's based on a real society, I guess. This girls club was real, and it's about 4 friends: Caprice, Ada, can I remember their names? Maria, and Thea. Oh, Thea, God bless you, you were so forgettable. And they are in the early 20th century Boston, and they're all the daughters of immigrants. So 2 of them, they're not the sisters, but 2 of them are daughters of Jewish Russian immigrants, and 2 of them are daughters of Italian immigrants. And it's just a lot about, tradition versus modern life, and them all following their dreams. Caprice and Ada were definitely my 2 favorite characters. I did not like Maria's plotline at all, so every time they were talking about her relationship, I just wanted to throw this book at somebody, because it was just infuriating, and the way it resolved at the end just really, it took too long to get to a resolution with her. And then Thea could have not existed, and the book would have been the same. so sorry. But again, it was just really cute. And like, that's the best thing I have to say about it. So if you are interested in a very fluffy, female friendship centric historical fiction, I would definitely recommend this to you because it fits the bill. Next up at 3.4 stars, we are just gradually getting higher. We have Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. This is a domestic thriller that has like some elements that make me question the genre. I don't know if that's spoilery. No, it comes up pretty early. There's like some weird, slight supernaturalness in here. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it really vague. But for me, that just kind of affected the way that the mystery played out, and it made me like it less because of that. It was very, very highly addicting, and certainly I wanted to get to the bottom of this and figure out what the heck is going on. But here, I'm gonna flip this book around to talk about slightly spoilery things at the ending, or very spoilery things it could be. So when I flip it back and you see the eyeball, you'll know that the spoilers are done, okay? So basically, at the ending, there's a twist, and then they repeat the twist, but with different people. And I think that second twist was much more powerful than the first, but it also didn't make sense to me because, and here's where I'm gonna just let it all loose. This is super spoilery now. So Louise and Adele freaking switch bodies. And then it turns out that Adele didn't switch bodies with Louise because it was Rob, that was his name, right? Rob in Adele's body. So they had switched, and then Rob Adele switched bodies with Louise. And for me, this just didn't make sense because Rob was like really good friends with Adele, like best friends. And then he laid eyes on, what's his name, David, who, by the way, he hated for the rest of the book. He was like, oh, this guy just wants your money, and why do you always talk about David, and oh, you're wearing his watch. And then he like laid eyes on him and met him for one day, and he was like, I love David, and I can't believe Adele's standing in my way, and well, I guess I just have to murder her. Like, it's a big jump to make in terms of personality. So I think that's what annoyed me more than anything. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, the spoilers are done. So this was like good, but not great. If you would like a domestic thriller about a married couple and another woman, I would much sooner recommend, you're back there, The Last Mrs. Parrish by Liv Constantine. All right, my next two picks are both a rated and even 4 stars, so I'm just going to arbitrarily pick which one to talk about first, and that is Archie Volume 4. I read it as an ebook, so I don't have it. This was cute. I liked it a lot more than Volume 3 because it had less of the Blossom twins, and just don't care very much about the Blossom twins. But there was also like one issue within it, I think it was like the second to last one, that literally could have not existed and it would not have mattered. So that just felt like a throwaway to me. It was a lot of side characters. It was like Dilton and Raj and like random people. His name's Raj, isn't it? I think so. So we could have gotten rid of that. But there's like a big spicy cliffhanger at the end, which was kind of amazing, kind of really stressful if you're me and you know who I care about in the Archie comics, which is mainly Betty Cooper. I'll get on my soapbox again. Betty, she's the best. But I loved the last issue because it was basically just like an ode to Betty and how she makes everyone's life better, and same. That's all I'll say. I think it was a fairly good issue, and I hadn't planned on continuing to Volume 4, but since Volume 4 I'm not mad at, I'll probably pick up volume 5 when it happens. I think that'll be a while in the future, though. My other 4-star read, I literally picked up on a whim yesterday in the library and then proceeded to read the whole thing last night, just in one giant binge read. It's going to look more impressive than it is. Thornhill by Pam Smythe. I mean, it looks huge, so be like, oh, wow, you read that whole thing last night? This is a middle grade book, first off, and it's told in alternating sections between, like, this gorgeous black and white illustrations, I love, and diary entries. So the diary entries are from a girl who was living in 1982, and her life was just really sad, and she was in the foster system, and she was being bullied, and it's just, it's hard to read, but, like, there's a mystery surrounding her. And so our pictures, the kind of graphic novel-ish section of this book, all follow a girl living in 2017 who, her life in a lot of ways parallels Mary, who's the diary girl, in that they're both very lonely, and Ella has lost her mother and her father works a lot, so she just kind of has that same neglected feeling that Mary had. And the way, the mystery of this, ooh, it was just, oh, I literally got goosebumps reading this twice. Like, it gave me chills. I was so creeped out. And Behind Her Eyes is a book for grown-ups, and not once was I like, oh no, 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 no. Like, this was so creepy. So if you are into, like, gothic mystery vibes, highly, highly recommend this. And middle grade March is happening, so this would be a really quick one to fly through. And I mean, just look at how pretty this book is. I kind of want my own copy because it's so gorgeous. Kind of not. Can I show you one of the pages that, like, creeped me the F out? It was so early on. I'm going to find it and be like, what? God, oh my God. It's so creepy. Ooh. Next, at 4.4 stars, I have The Power by Naomi Alderman. This is a speculative, literary, feminist thing about a future or a world in which women, well, teenage girls at first and eventually other women, literally get the power to produce electricity from their bodies because, like, they have a muscle essentially that can do this, that is, like, discovered. And okay, I don't want to make this sound bad because I was so addicted to reading this book, and it was really thought-provoking and just very interesting, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to love it, and I finally figured out why. So let me say some nice things and then I'll explain. This book is, like I said, very addicting. You just want to keep reading it. I loved all the different perspectives we got to read from. Roxy happened to be my favorite, so if you pick this up, just know I like Roxy the best. And it was just so, like I said, thought-provoking. It really, like, it just kind of made you think a lot. That's the definition of thought-provoking. But the reason I didn't love it as much as I thought I would is because in my brain, I heard, oh wow, the gender dynamic's going to change because now women are more physically powerful, so women will be more powerful in the world, so the world, like, could get so much better. Like, oh my God, think of all the possibilities with women leading things. The world was not better. The world was still garbage. And that just made me feel really hopeless and sad. Like, life sucked in this book. So, what's the message? Give women power and the world will still suck? It's not the most optimistic point of view. And I mean, it made sense because it's not like you expect all the men of the world to be like, righto, lightning lady, as you say, I'll go do this thing. Like, you know, as people, there's always pushback when there's big societal changes. And especially when there's like pride and people's identities involved, things can get crazy. But it just was a little more bleak than I had actually anticipated. And that's my one gripe, I guess. I've been filming for 20 minutes and I have 2 more books to talk about. I gotta stop. My other 4.4 book was the only audiobook that I listened to in all of February. Can you believe I read all these books physically? I'm so proud of myself. And that is Frontlines by Michael Grant. Oh my god, I loved this. This is historical fiction. You know me. Or if you don't at this point, welcome to my channel. I'm going to talk about a lot of historical fiction to you, like all the time. This is an alternate historical fiction about a world in which it's World War II and the draft and what's the word I'm looking for? Voluntarily joining the army. Both of those apply to women. Women are in the army. And so I just have so much that I loved about this book. It's weird because while reading it, I mean, there was like a lot of time where they were just like, we're not in the war. And I'm looking back, I'm not even mad at that. Like, it seemed like a pacing issue, but now I'm like, wow. And it's the first book in a trilogy. I believe it's only going to be a trilogy. So we follow 3 girls. The first one that we hear the most about is Rio, and she is like from a small Northern California town, and she and her best friend enlist. That's the word I was looking for. Enlist. They both enlist, but you know, the army is not what they expected, and you know, you can't just go back and be like, I'm just kidding, we don't want to do this. Like, you signed up for it, now you're in. And you know, you see the 2 of them go through training together, and they actually end up going into war together as well. And then we have Rainey, who is Jewish and from New York, and she is like so clever and cool, and she is basically working in, what's the word I'm looking for? Intelligence, stealthy, spyish things. So her sections were always really fun and full of intrigue. And then lastly, we have Frangie, who is black and I think somewhere from like the middle of the US, but I frankly can't remember where. And she wants to be a doctor, not just like a medic in the war. Like, she eventually wants to be a doctor. And so she's got high goals, and love her for it. And she was also so great to read from. Of course, she sometimes had some like gory, nasty things surrounding her sections, but it's all good because she was just a delight to read from. And so we get all these different girls' stories, but we actually don't know who's writing and who's telling the story, which I'll say this again with my backwards thing. So when you see the cover, the spoilers are done. So we see a vast majority of sections about Rio. So it makes you assume, like, on purpose, like, oh, it's gotta be Rio writing this. We're hearing all about Rio. And then at the end, they make it clear that it's not Rio, but it's gotta be like one of the other girls. I kind of suspected Janu for a while, but I don't know. But yeah, I was just like, I felt like I was like, okay, come on. Anyways, I just really enjoyed this book. This is a lot like The Power too, in that obviously men aren't going to be like, can't wait for a woman sergeant to be in charge of me. Like, some people were really nasty. Also about, you know, race and other countries, because there's a war going on and people are awful and like racist. So, you know, you hear a lot of people being like, the Japs, the Krauts, and it's like, okay, I feel uncomfortable, but also history. Like, I appreciated that they kept it very realistic in terms of the times, but it's also just sad. But there were also, you know, characters who looked past those things, and there's one character at the end who makes like a great turnaround that really touched my heart. And yeah, just an amazing cast of characters. I've talked about this book for so long because even all the side characters, like I just told you the main characters, but there's so many awesome people to read about in this book. I gotta shut up because there's one more book that I liked even more than this month. Oh my god. Last but not least, a book that I gave 4.8 stars to. Whoa. Stay With Me by Ayobami Adebayo. Oh boy. Okay, this is not even that long of a book. It's like 250 pages, maybe? Yeah, it's like barely 250 pages, and it hits you hard. I give you the basic premise that I knew going into this book, but I won't say more than that, even though the story is so much more than that. The story begins with a married couple in Nigeria in the 1980s, and they have both agreed that polygamy is not for them, even though it's very common culturally to have multiple wives. Akin and Yejide both agree that they're not about that. But then one day, Yejide's in-laws show up with a woman, and they're like, here's your husband's second wife. Congrats, enjoy. You're like a big sister to her now. And it just kind of is bad news bears. The reason this happened was because they have been married for, I forget, like a few years, and she still has not had a baby. And at this point, the family's like, tick-tock, you gotta make kids, and, you know, if you can't do it, we've got another girl that will do that now, so you can be married, and this will just be like the baby-making wife. And she's not having it. So that is where this book begins, but there's so much more to this story. This story is about life and birth and death and motherhood and what it means to be a spouse to someone. It's about honesty and communication and deceit. There are such big themes at hand in this book, and it just kind of like took my breath away. It was so easy to visualize and be there with the characters, even though I've certainly never been to Nigeria, and I can't even say, you know, I can't even claim that I've consumed a lot of Nigerian media. I certainly have not. But I felt like I understood these characters and their lives, and it just, oh, the ending hurt my heart in a great way. And also, when you get to the meaning of the title, it just, oh, it made me cry. So this was beautiful. And if you enjoy stories about marriage or families or motherhood, I could not recommend this more highly. Or, I mean, if you just enjoy really beautifully written books, I also recommend this to you. It's excellent. It was so good. Oh my god, I've been filming for half an hour. This is going to be a doozy to edit. Thank you all so much for watching and sitting through my rambling. Those were the 8 books that I read in February. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. If I've convinced you to read any of them, that would be like the best news ever. Or if you have previously read any of these books, I'd love to hear your thoughts on them. As always, do leave a comment and like this video and subscribe so I know I'm doing something right. Yes, you'll see more of me soon. Bye!